Hello and welcome to FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me while I talk about FPL. Please like if you enjoyed the video to help get it out there. And at the time recording, the channel is getting very close, very close now to 800 subscribers, and it's my dream to get up there to that mark before the channel turns 7 months old. So if you could help me get there by hitting the subscribe button, it would really mean the world to me. Thank you so much if you do this. If you'd like to support the channel even further, please check out channel memberships. They only cost 99p per month, and members get instant access to videos as soon as I upload them. So welcome to another interview in the Meet the FPL Manager / content creator interview series, where I invite a lovely member of our FPL community on the channel to talk about the experiences of FPL and content creation, their thoughts on mental health and FPL, and we have a general chat about FPL and how their season is going towards the end. So for the latest entry in this series, I have the pleasure of being joined by one of the most humorous and out there content creators, in a good way, Nathan. Nathan Bacon, FPL. Nathan, it's great to have you on the channel, mate. We'll get into in a while, like how we linked up and arranged this last week. But how you doing, mate?
Yeah, well, good. Thanks yourself.
Yeah. Not bad. I said to you beforehand, I feel, sometimes you just feel a bit unsettled about things, but you don't know why. It's like hopefully that feeling will disappear as I drink some of this beer.
Nice.
So I know you said when we were talking before we've recorded that you've watched a few before. How I usually start out, Nathan, is by just asking you to tell us a few general things about yourself, like where did you grow up, who do you support, what are your first memories of football, things like that.
Cool. Yeah, so born and bred in Swansea in Wales, represent. Everybody always thinks this is the Spain kit, and I'm like, no. It's not like
Swansea
Adidas
kit.
reusing all of the kits. No, we'll ignore that. But yeah, from Swansea, and FBL used to be good for Swansea back in the day, but
Yeah.
not so much recently. But yeah.
When was the last time Swansea were in the Premier League?
Unfortunately, it's been about 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember some of their players. Michu was he was
Michu, yeah. And we even had some random gems like Cal Norton was popping off every now and again. And yeah, I feel like Swansea were quite culturally relevant to FBL. We've had some more like the budget gems, the type of ones that make it a bit exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, 6 years now.
Well,
actually, did you hear the news today about Swansea?
No.
That Luka Modric is now a co-owner of Swansea Football Club.
Bloody hell. How did that come around?
As in the Champions League Ballon d'Or winner, Modric.
How did that come around?
You never know. Give us 2 seasons, Luka Modric, 5 mil in FBL playing for Swansea next to Joe Allen. That's the dream. That's the dream.
Any idea?
I have no
idea.
We have American owners, so I'm going to assume they have some contacts, but I didn't think their contacts were that good.
No.
But I'll take it.
Well, to be fair, he's a great footballer. He might be a terrible owner, so you don't know, do you? Might be a good thing. No. What first memories of football, mate? What are your any particular?
Ooh, so I don't know. I've always been into football since I was like young. I think my first few memories were probably from like me playing football. And then when I was like a kid, I think Swansea were in like League One and climbing up. And well, yeah, if people don't know, Swansea like almost got relegated out of the Football League and then went from League Two to League One to Championship to Premier League in something stupid like 10 years. And yeah, we managed to stay up for like 6 years as well. So all of those memories are incredible. And growing up, obviously they were better than they are now, being stuck in the Championship and almost a relegation battle this year. But yeah, no, from a young age, Swansea all the way, and it's been pretty good, to be fair.
Where did they nearly go down? I don't remember that. I mean, like
yeah, like 20 years or so ago.
20 years ago.
Like, yeah, I think there's a documentary made about it because we were 1 game off getting relegated. We just needed to beat Hull, and we managed to do it in literally like the last few minutes of the game.
Oh wow!
And back then as well, the club sold for £1.
I think I remember that. Yeah,
it's not bad. Yeah,
remember that happened Brighton as well in the 90s. They survived. Like a goalkeeper scored in the last minute to keep him in the league. Favorite player? Swansea player.
Ooh. Well, you could say a Michu. You could say a Wilfred Boney. He's been there a couple of times as well. But proper streets won't forget player, Lee Trundle. Now, not everybody might know him. He was more of a EFL Championship legend. Well,
know the name.
League One legend. But he was literally like 5-star skills, big boy baller. And I think he was the first player outside the Premier League to get some money rights from having his name on shirts because everybody knew who he was. Everybody wanted to be him. And yeah, as a kid, he was like the go-to. That's who you want to be, Lee Trundle.
He was massive in Swansea.
Yeah, exactly.
Best moment as a Swansea fan?
I'd say there hasn't been that many, but to be fair, we did win the League Cup. So that's not bad going in 2013, I think it was 2012, 13.
I've forgotten all about that. Yeah.
Yeah. We had quite a hard run. I think we beat Chelsea, who were the Champions League winners the year before. We beat, I want to say Arsenal, or was it Liverpool? One of them. In the semi-final or the quarterfinals, and then in the final we had to beat the mighty Bradford to win it. And we ended up beating them 5-0, which I think is still one of the biggest wins in like the final. Do you
remember who the manager was then?
Yeah, Laudrup.
Michael
Laudrup.
That completely gone out of my mind.
And then the following season, then we were in the Europa League from that, and we got a result against Napoli. We didn't make it out the group stages, but it's not bad going at all.
No, that's pretty good. How are they doing this season, out of interest?
This season hasn't been great. We started doing all right. And then, typical Championship thing. Team doesn't do well for a few games, sack your manager, and then the season's kind of over. So right now we're mid-table. We've had a few good results recently, but don't think you'll be seeing us in the Prem in the next couple of seasons. Maybe, but probably not.
It's nice to have a Welsh club in there, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe with Modric, maybe that's the thing we're missing to push us up to the Prem.
Have Cardiff ever been in the top division? They've not been in the Premier League. Have they been in the Premier League?
Cardiff got promoted the year we got relegated, so we haven't been in the Prem with them, but they've been up there once. And then every single other season they've stayed in the Championship, and they're actually in the relegation right now. So that's all. That almost makes the Swansea season good because Cardiff might get relegated.
I've got this massive blind spot I must have for Welsh teams because I don't see everything like this. I mean, to be fair, I don't think either of them were really challenging for Champions League positions. So
not quite.
So when did you first get into fantasy football, FPL, mate?
So it was actually way back in the day when I was younger. I think a family member used to do the Sun Dream team when you actually got to use the newspaper and you actually got to I can't even remember send in your team before you could even make
telephone it in and press a number for
something
each
like
player.
that. So I remember watching it, and I don't know why, but I just loved scouting players and seeing how much they were on that Sun Dream team. And my first few memories were essentially that. I mean, because of the nature of that, and it wasn't online, I'm pretty sure I made a team at the start and probably forgot about every player as the season went on. But I remember just before the season, doing all that research and stuff was great fun. And then I would probably say I played FPL, but never seriously. I was always the normal casual, really. I start at the start of the season. If it starts to go bad, then just chuck it in the bin. I don't touch it.
This when you're a kid, mate, or a teenager?
It's probably when I'm growing up now, this is. Yeah. And then, I was playing it on and off. I wanted to get into it a bit more seriously, but I never really found the motivation to. And then, as soon as I started making content on it, then I guess you can't really just stop playing it then. So that's what got me into it full time. So it was actually more a creator before an FPL player, right. But both have come in hand in hand, obviously, now.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I think FPL mate sort of got into it more when he started creating content on it. How long have you been going for? 5 years, is that right?
Yeah, I think 2019 was my first few videos, so this is my 6th season.
Taking it seriously, as they say.
Yeah. So I made YouTube videos before, but on a different channel.
Okay.
And then this was supposed to just be a football channel. I started making FPL videos as my first football videos, and it seemed to do pretty well. So I just continued with the FPL, and then 6 years later, I'm still only doing FPL.
What was the other channel?
It was more of like a gaming channel, a vlog channel.
Okay.
It was kind of just a bit of everything, really. It wasn't that big. I think it got to like 1,000 subscribers after like 10 years,
Well,
which, is still good. But like after 10 years, yeah, it was more of a...
Don't knock it. I'm not 1,000 yet.
You'll get there soon. Yeah. Yeah, most of my things I did on there were like vlogs and stuff. And actually, I was in Swansea Uni, and Swansea Uni threatened to kick me out of uni for my vlogs, actually.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Why?
What were you vlogging about? You weren't.
They weren't that dodgy. But well, I used to do vlogs just of my uni life, and I probably went out drinking like 3 times a week. And I guess most of my vlog footage was going out. And I did use Swansea Uni in the title. And if you search Swansea Uni on YouTube, I would come up before them. So one day I just got an email from like the councillor or whatever saying, can you come in for a meeting? We need to discuss something. And I was like, oh, what's this about? They're like, oh yeah, the uni president and the uni HR, the uni student rep and everything have all reviewed your drunk videos and have decided they don't really want them there. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then the head of student services was like, but I love them. So I've told them to bog off. You're all good. So crazy. all I had to do was take out Swansea Uni from the title, and then I was good to stay. So there you go.
The thing is, they probably thought it was bad advertising, but when I
exactly. Yeah.
When I went to university, I mean, this is going back 20 years now. The thing I did the, you can go like when you put it on your UCAS, you can go and look at 3 different universities. All 6 of them. I went all around it every 6, but all I was doing was checking out the bar facilities because they choose the one with the best bar. But I know young people are a bit more generally sensible nowadays in terms of that sort of thing. Any particular early memories stick out from FPL perspective?
Probably not until content creation, to be honest. Because there was a few moments, but I guess because I wasn't really fully invested, it didn't really feel like much. Because I think especially when there's people watching you, it adds a lot more behind it then. Like when you triple captain that one random player and it goes off, and loads of other people have seen you do that. Like I've actually done with Jacob Murphy this week. I've triple captained him instead of Isak. I went for a little different. So, when those kind of moments pay off, I feel like it means more when there's people kind of, I don't want to say like counting on you, because who really cares? But, people know that you've done it. So it's kind of like, it kind of brings more, context to it, I guess. Like, it's exciting.
Yeah. I'll just timestamp this now, as you mentioned the triple captain. We're recording this in game week 32 on a Monday, so we haven't had the second game yet, which I am going to confidently predict Isaac, who I've triple captained, will completely outscore Jacob Murphy.
We'll see. People from the future will know.
I know, it's weird that happens, isn't it? And they get comments, like, we'll get in the comments. It was so obvious that Jacob Murphy was the better triple captain.
Yeah.
So next part, I usually go on to talk about your content creation experience. So I'm going to say this before. I like being completely honest with people I get on the channel. I have to admit that I've not seen a lot of your videos before we started chatting next week. I mean, I was aware who you were and I'd watched a couple, but so I'll explain to the viewers how we started chatting last week. So I made a video which people may have seen. It's got about 1,500 views now, called "The Not Clickbait Title at All Is All FPL Content the Same," which was basically just a 20-minute odd discussion I had with Steve-O about that from Elite FPL on a live stream, and you basically replied, Nathan, saying you might have a few things to say about this, in which case, I had to get you on here. So we'll get into talking about that later, because as I said, we'll get back to that bit. Maybe if we start off by talking about your content creation experience, and I have to say, having watched 11, 12 of your videos last night, researching this, I would say you maybe sort of proved that not all FPL content is exactly the same, and I mean that in a good way. But we'll come back to that. So I'll start off just by asking like the standard question that I ask in this section, which is basically how did you go from being a player to a content creator, and what inspired you to start up?
Yeah, so I think I probably covered roughly that before because, I was making videos before. I wanted to make a football channel because I was making football videos on the other channel, but I thought, why not create a separate channel for it?
One that's not going to get you kicked out of uni.
Yeah, exactly. One that's family friendly and safe. And then one of my first few videos, I think it was my third or fourth video, was rating FPL YouTubers' first drafts.
Right.
And that's still my most popular video. And if you've seen other YouTubers do that type of video, they stole it from me. So, I'm expecting a paycheck soon.
I noticed you had one on there that was called, I don't think it was your first video, called Roasting FPL YouTubers' First Drafts.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
How many views did that get, mate?
Probably, the big boy one got 28,000.
Oh, nice.
Rating YouTubers, yeah, so not bad at all. So I think from the very start, I didn't really want to do content the same because I think probably because I came from a more unique perspective of YouTube content space, not the FPL content space.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do different videos. So like my very, very first video was like my FPL first draft, but it was 2 truths, 1 lie about the player.
I watched that one.
So so like I said 2 truths and a lie before I revealed the player. So it was almost like a game before. And then, I did like rating YouTubers' first drafts. I did like an FPL team with no top 6 teams. Those were like very first videos before even seeing other content creators, to be honest. That's kind of what I went for. And then from there, I just decided I want to keep doing things the way I want to do it, do it for the love of the game, not for the content.
That's interesting you say you did that before you started watching FPL content. It's making the stuff that you like, not the stuff that you think might get a lot of views. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what were those early experiences like of content creation, and how has it changed maybe over the 5 or 6 years you've been doing it?
Yeah, I think right at the start, there was obviously not as many people creating, but I think people weren't also kind of tech savvy to like YouTube, I'd say, where like, now there's AI tools that'll tell you the best tool. You could just go on the YouTube page and everybody's like, handcrafted every single aspect of their video, of the thumbnail, the title. Whereas before I did feel like it was a bit more authentic. People just upload it. Sometimes people don't even upload a thumbnail or whatnot. And I think FPL as a niche was very like, it did take longer for that compared to other niches, I would say. Why that is, I'm not sure. Probably just because it wasn't that popular and that saturated. So you could upload anything with a bad title and thumbnail, but it still performed well. So, there's no motivation to put that more effort in. And I'd say that's probably the main difference between back then and now is that like everything is particular. Everything has to be a certain way for you even to survive, never mind thrive.
So have you taken out on board? Have you upped your sort of maybe, I don't know, technical game, as it were?
Yeah, I'd say my kind of journey is I've kind of gone through every aspects, to be honest, because I've gone from, like I said, creating videos that are just what I wanted to create. I've gone through creating basically the FPL YouTube template and creating almost the exact same copy and like themes and series as everybody else, obviously with my own spin and my own personality, but like the actual videos content's basically the same. And then I've gone completely the other way of trying to create brand new series and whatnot.
Right.
And there's pros and cons to them all. To actually do well on YouTube, unfortunately with the FPL niche, you are gonna have to kind of do it the same as everyone else. But recently I've decided not to do that, even though I know it would do better, because for me right now, it's a hobby. I do it for the love of the game. If it doesn't do well, I don't care, because that's not my goal. Like I even turn down sponsorships and other things because I don't want to harm my content. I just wanna have fun. That's all I'm doing.
Sure. Two things come to mind there. I mean, we're kind of getting on to something I wanted to discuss later, but we'll discuss it now. So you're saying you went from different to the same to a bit different again. I think you said I'm just wondering if you noticed difference in views during those different phases. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say if you try and do your own thing, views aren't as good. And if you follow the FPL template and do these popular series and stuff, then you are just going to get more views.
You mean
now,
like
views isn't
transfer
views
tips,
aren't the only. Yeah, exactly. Transfer tips, team selection, players to watch, etc. In FPL content, I think views are also not quite as accurate as maybe some other niches, because something like a wildcard draft is always going to get more views, but how many people are going to stay from a wildcard draft compared to, a video like this that's a lot more personal, and people actually come in to watch to view the content, not view an FPL team, for instance.
A lot of times when I click on a wildcard draft, I'll just look at the draft and won't watch a single minute, you know what I mean? Particularly if it's like the third or fourth video I've watched.
I'd say there's two main things of the FPL niche which kind of force that, and why like those particular videos get the most views. And I've kind of put it down to two things. One of them being the whole life cycle of FPL. Things are only relevant for a week or two. And I don't think that in itself is what causes it, but I do think that has a knock-on effect of how videos are suggested and such. So what I mean by that is most FPL views kind of come from what the searches of the game week. So, the next game, it's usually the next game week. It's not never usually the game week that's happening or just before. So like, now it would be for game week 33 or whenever everybody's watching it, like the next game week. And yeah, because recommendations are kind of based on what people have been searching on, then if you then make a video, with the similar title as somebody that's already got views on the next game week, yours is going to get recommended more because, the YouTube algorithm has seen that those are the videos that are popular right now. So it's suggesting similar content because, that's what the YouTube algorithm's job is.
So if I've got game week, I mean, I don't do this sort of content, but if I've got game week 25 team selection and everyone's just been watching Raptor or Let's Talk FB Andy's, they're more likely then to come to mine, get recommended mine.
Yeah, exactly. And, you could go original and be like, shall I triple captain this week in brackets game week 25? But that's probably not going to perform as well because YouTube thinks that's not as similar as the one that everybody's just watched.
Right.
So that's why all of the titles are pretty much, FPL, game week, the number, and then the series name. You can have some success with some other variations, but I would say it's probably harder to do so just because of the nature of how the algorithm works.
So I'm assuming because you said those videos were doing better, but then you've come off of that, were you getting bored?
Yeah, I think, success and what you want to do with your own time and hobbies and whatnot, to me, it's always been a hobby. I've never got it to the point where it could be my job and whatnot. And I'm sure if it was, or it could be, then, I would look at it a bit differently. But because I've kind of, I guess some people could say fallen off and whatnot, not doing as well as I used to, I've kind of then like reevaluated, like, I could put in all this extra effort and do the type of content that does well, but do I actually want to be doing that? And I've decided, nah, it's my hobby, it's my free time. I'm just gonna, like, this season I've been pretty crap, to be fair. Like, I'll miss a game week video here and there because if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it, and I just go by the vibes right now.
That's the golden rule. Literally every time which I'll ask you later, they always say is don't miss a game week, like the standard content. But as you say, I prefer to do it the way you say as well. I mean, the only I've started doing some live streams on here with various people where I will address, we'll talk about FPL but I'm never going to make videos of going over my own team. Maybe unless I get to like number 3 in the world. We'll get onto that later, Nathan. Maybe then I might do, but we're kind of touching on the question we were going to get to, but I'll get back and ask you specifically about it later on. What would you say are the positives of being an FPL content creator, and positives and negatives in either order?
Mm. So yeah, I'd start with the positives. There are a lot of positives, I say. I feel like the FPL community as a niche and a community itself is probably one of the most like kind of together. You like I'm in quite a lot of like, gaming communities and that you could say, and like I'm involved, just chatting in those, and a lot more of those are like not as friendly together and whatnot.
Mm.
But the FBL community, although there are some negative people and whatever, people will take it in different ways, but as the community as a whole, I do think it's pretty damn good at like, people will just shout out other people if they've done well.
Definitely.
Or even if somebody's like, you create some new YouTube content, there's somebody, that's at the top of the game that will still shout out some of the new up and coming people. And in any other niche, that's like just does not happen, because, the people at the top want to stay at the top. So the fact that people even want to do that is great. And then, yeah, from creating your own content and having your own little community to have your own little discussions and your own little things. Like, I don't live stream as much, but when you live stream and you've got your own little community and stuff, and that's like a really good thing to have. Like I used to do like watch alongs and stuff as well. And that was like a whole another thing. Like you get some different like entertainment from that. And yeah, I'd say as a whole, it is pretty damn good.
What do you think? I've had this conversation with a couple of people. Why do you think watch-alongs are not become a bigger thing? I mean, I've gone on Let's Talk FPL, Elite FPL, sorry, Let's Talk FPL, a couple of times to do them. And I know Black Books do them occasionally, but they're not really a big thing. What do you think they're not?
No. Yeah, I feel like I went into the watch-alongs things quite early, because for instance, football fan channels, there are very popular watch-alongs.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, like United stand Mark Goldbridge gets 50,000 people watching the game.
Yeah,
and a lot of those might not even be watching the game; they're watching him. I don't know. I would say it's probably a mixture of a few things. One, like, yes, FPL is important, but like it's not based on a game, like one single game of the game week. No. Even if you triple captain somebody, like it's still the entire week. So I feel like, with, for instance, a Man United fan watching a Man United fan channel, that is the one thing they're looking at all weekend. Whereas like with an FPL channel, it could be like, well, yeah, there's games on, but I'm not going to make time aside to go and make sure I watch this game or watch this content of somebody watching the game.
They might be watching the games themselves, I guess, as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think although it works as well as a concept, I think they are background viewing. Watch-alongs are, I feel like more people often than not are watching the game with the watch-along as the background rather than watching the watch-along as the content. And you can't watch 7 different watch-alongs, and if somebody's, if there's somebody else making a watch-along or something and you do want to watch that type of content, then there might be somebody, ahead of you, I guess.
Yeah, another thing I noted down here, I mean, one of the positives from my perspective has been getting like amazing people like Mark Southerns, Let's Talk FPL Andy. I noticed you had a series, let's look at my script, called FPL Content Creator Battles, and you had quite a few big names on there yourself, didn't you? I guess that must have been a bit of a buzz, a bit of a positive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So pretty much every year I've kind of like properly researched on what series I want to do that year. And for instance, that year I decided I wanted to be a bit more like collaborative and try and invite some people on. And yeah, like you said, I got some big names on, and yeah, it was like a unique series where we each picked like 3 different players, and it's kind of like a battle. And I kind of wanted like a Top Gear leaderboard of like, when they get the celebrities on and they all kind of have that race. And at the end, you can kind of see, the stake and what celebrities at the top. So I kind of wanted to do that. And I am kind of gutted that how I feel like that didn't perform as well as I would have liked it to, considering, it's, I think in terms of like how proud I am of that type of content, because, I've got a big name on, and the overall video I feel like is quite engaging and entertaining. But yeah, obviously it wasn't to be, so, that stopped. But no, it was good fun, and, appreciate all the people I had on as well. It was good.
I'll tell you the one thing, I mean, this may just be me. Looking at the video, I watched the one you did with Andy. I wasn't sure if you were just like, I got it after I walked back and watched the video all the way through, but it wasn't entirely clear whether Andy had actually made specific content for your channel, or if you were just comparing to his you get what I mean? I don't know. Maybe maybe if it had been really clear, like let's talk FPL handles on my channel, it might have done better. I don't know.
True. Yeah. So for that, I just asked people like if they could send me a video of them talking, choosing 3 players essentially, and then I cut it up into the way I did it.
Yeah. Who won the?
I honestly can't remember. I want to say
you.
No, I honestly don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna say it was me.
Yeah.
Subscribe to me. I'm the best.
If in doubt, say yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the negatives, Nathan?
I'd say from somebody that's, I don't know if like trapped or thing is the right word, but when you want to try and like create content and you see everybody else doing it this way and it kind of needs to be this certain way to succeed, it does kind of feel like you need to do it a certain way, and that does potentially suck out the creativity from it. Like I've tried to add that, like even when I was doing the videos that is the normal team selection watch list and whatnot, I tried to add my own creative flair. But I feel like because the kind of what's expected of the content that you should produce is out there, it almost feels like you need to do it that way. And as a creator, it can suck the life out of you, kind of thing.
Yes.
And that's probably the main reason why I stepped away from that type of content, because I like to be a creative. That's the whole reason I do create and make content. And as soon as it started to take away from that, then I wanted to take step back from that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not really that bad of a thing, really. Like the fact, that is a formula that kind of works. And, if you don't do it, then I would also say, like, although it's a good thing and a bad thing of how often FPL is in every week. But if you want to succeed, you're probably going to have to put a decent amount of content out, per game week, whether that be like 3 or 4 long videos or even like 1 2-hour long every week. Even for a lot of people, you got to do a lot of preparation for that. That could be a lot. So, even though I have done it this year, if you do want to succeed and grow, you do kind of have to be on it every single week and every single, almost day potentially. Whereas a lot of other niches, you could work hard on a video and at least relax and sit back.
Yeah.
But that's not how FPL content works. You need to always be on it, like Sonic.
You do, yeah. A complete tangent. I had my hair out to about there. I had a haircut today, and I told him to do it short. And when I've taken my hat off because I was so hot, I didn't realise I'd done it that short. I completely get what you mean about the creative side. I mean, when I started this channel, I did a tier list, and then I made 4 or 5 other videos about like things like deadline streams and stuff. And then I was like, unless I go the traditional route, I'm not going to have a channel. But then I suddenly thought. Then I started this interview series and thing kind of continued from there. But it is so difficult to, particularly if you're creative. I mean, I like to think of myself as being creative. Let's get on to talking about. You sort of touching on it anyway. How we started chatting. So I put out a video last week called "Is All FPL Content the Same?" It's done fairly well. Got a couple of thousand views. But as I said at the start of the video, you responded to that and said, we're kind of touching on it anyway. But I'm going to ask you the question directly that me and Steve-O sort of talked about in that interview, Nathan. Is all FPL content the same? Is it inevitable? And does it really matter? Take it away.
Is it all the same? Yes, ? Mostly. Is it inevitable? I think so, with how it's gone down, and I will expand on that in a sec. And so I would say there's 2 main things that I've kind of observed myself. Obviously, this might not actually be the truth, but I have had a deep dive into a lot of this, just being involved in it for years. But I think it comes down to 2 main things. One of them being why people watch FPL content. And when I say FPL content, I more mean like choosing your team and stuff. Stuff like this content is almost like another niche on the side of it. But stuff like, team selections, watch list, whatever, that kind of content on why people watch it, I think kind of pushes everything down like one line. And what I mean by that is, if you look at any team selection video and any analytics, 90% of people click to the end. And 90% of the people click to the end to just see the team.
Right.
And that's because FPL content, as much as all of us would like to believe they're watching for us, they're not. The content is the FPL team.
Yeah.
And, even though in certain different formats, maybe it's a little bit more about like talking about players in certain ways, at the end of the day, it is more about the players, and that is the content and not the creator. And I think that kind of makes, certain series that are kind of out of the norm then not stand out, because that's not why people are watching.
Well, let me challenge you. I think you make a good point. But if that was the case, why does everyone not just look at Fantasy's Football Scout or a website for team reveals? Because then you literally do just have the team and that's it.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess with stuff like, it's kind of like what you go to first. Some people might have a certain YouTuber they go to.
Yeah.
And, I feel like people kind of like find one and stick with it.
So do you see that in your own videos? You see that everyone clicks to the...
On videos that are more specific about teams, it is pretty much people click to look at the team, and that's that. Now, I've personally tried to combat that by like what some people do in their videos is like they'll do player by player and like reveal them on the screen one by one to try and keep them on there. But I kind of went the other way and tried to like, right, now I'm going to reveal my team in the first second and then talk about more to see if that would still keep people along. But no, it doesn't. So maybe it's just me. But no, a lot of content that is focused on teams is just look at the team, and that's that. Yeah, there will be a few that will watch. There is still that 10%, and that that could be a different 10% every video, and it could accumulate. But at the end of the day, people are pretty much watching that type of content to just look at your team, and they don't care about anything else really.
It's quite depressing as an FPL content.
It is,
right, when you say that, but yeah.
It is the unfortunate truth, and I think that's it might not be the ultimate truth, and some other people might have a different perspective, but from how I've analyzed it and my own performance and other videos and stuff, that's just my observations, and I'd say how it's gone. And I'd say the other main thing about content creation then, and why it's kind of gone down the similar route, I would blame stats. Now, I like stats, and I think if you use, when I say stats, I mean like, football stats like XG, all this kind of FPL data that, people are starting to use more and more. I really like stats and I do use it, but I do think a lot of people use it wrong. But I think the main thing the reason that stats has like kind of made content all the same is because I feel like, maybe subconsciously, but a lot of creators feel like they kind of need to back up every decision they make. Like for instance, even though I've triple captained Jacob Murphy, if I was a serious FPL YouTuber, I feel like I would need to at least explain why, because you're gonna get all the comments saying like, why have you done that? Like you just you don't take it seriously. So if you want to kind of like try and prove your worth, almost, you kind of need to prove every decision. And proving a football opinion in an imaginary metric is quite hard. You can't just say this player is better than that player because you think he is. Like, and that's where stats comes into play, where it's a lot easier to say, oh, this player is better as your FPL striker than this player because he accumulates more XG, because he gets more, better chances, because he takes corners or whatnot. It's a lot easier to do that. And I feel like when I first started making content, people dabbled with stats, but I think one, it wasn't as easily available, and two, because it wasn't really the norm in the FPL community to use them, people just didn't. But now it kind of feels like, I do think like every new creator that does make that type of content, I feel like they need to either use stats like everybody else or try and go above and beyond and use more stats to try and prove their worth, because, the bar's already been raised to here, but to get higher, you're going to have to do more. And if that more, is by the type of content everybody's making, it is pretty much just use more stats and more of that,
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I had Triggerlips on my last live stream, and he pointed out, I don't want to pick on FPL review because I'm a big fan of FPL review, but you can almost correlate. There does, and I don't think, as you say, I don't think it's a conscious thing. What was everyone going on about, the cartel or whatever? I don't think there's any of that stuff. But there is an unconscious thing that pretty much, with small differences, what most FPL content creators are recommending, what FPL review says, what most sources of evidence say, are all coming in some way from that data. Obviously, that's what FPL review is, those numbers that it comes up with are based on. And it does sort of lead, as you say, I think, to this small, to becoming even more similar, doesn't it? Like, the other thing I would say is you're talking about people skipping towards the end just to see the teams. But then obviously you have things like Black Box and podcasts where they literally can't see. Well, I suppose on Black Box they can, but there are some podcasts that are purely auditory where they can't. So I think I don't know if I'm just spitballing off the top of my head, but I think there are maybe, if let's go based on Let's Talk FPL Andy's numbers, maybe there are 400,000 people out there who use YouTube at some point to get some information, and a lot of those may be the ones that just click on the, to the end of the video. But then if you look at like people, like I've been sort of varying this up in my mind since I had that conversation a few weeks ago. If you think about how many people who watch Black Box or The Wire or those sorts of things, I mean you're going all the way down there maybe to like 30,000 people. So I think the actual, it's probably a bit bigger than that, but the actual people who actually really are into FPL so much that they're going to sit there and listen to lots of content is maybe, let's say generously, 50,000.
Yeah.
But the number of people who are going to use YouTube to get some sort of information is like 500,000. But we're probably, particularly a channel like this one, is, never going to get those people to watch because I don't even show my team in the first place. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I'd say that's about right. And I think, channels like Black Box, they're kind of like the top of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like, I think they use stats really well. So if somebody wants to use stats, they'll go to them. So like, as a potential new creator or whatnot, if you kind of even want to use the same format, somebody's not going to pick to watch you over them because they're already one there. And I think that is another thing with FPL content is like, yes, there's a lot of like data you can look at, but at the end of the day, there isn't actually that much discussion and talking point every week. Realistically, how much things change by week to week. Most, 90% of the things that you even discuss might not happen, or you could have a full on analytical reason on why this one player is good and then he gets injured and it's like, it's all irrelevant, So there's a lot of these factors that kind of come into play. And yeah, I think like, there's good ways to use stats. There's bad ways to use stats, but I do think like I like FPL review as well, but I do think there's certainly been a correlation of how when that's gotten popular, everybody else has started playing the same. And I think the big bad wolf you could say of that is I think the winner of FPL, I can't remember what year, but one of the winners of FPL announced that he didn't watch a single football game all year.
I know that because it was F Scout Joe commented on something I posted today. It was last year, or last season. Last season.
Yeah. So over the years, I think might have even been a few then of people have won it based on not even watching football.
And
so I think that's kind of
there was Simon March as well back in about 10 years ago.
Way back in the day as well. Yeah. So I think that kind of leads you to a false sense of security that is the way you need to do it. Where, there probably has been just as many people that haven't just used stats that have. I personally think you can play it however you want, and use the different tools, and using one over the other doesn't make the other one right. I think, that's just, if it goes your way, it goes your way, and how you got there doesn't really matter in the end.
I guess you can almost like compare it to FPL content creation, we're making content that we want rather than following the mold.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Whereas, a lot of people not saying anyone in particular, but I'll say some people in particular, Raptor, Let's Talk FPL Andy, being the biggest ones, follow the general template. It's exactly the same with playing FPL, isn't it? You can follow the general template or the tools, or you can go out there and do what the hell you want.
Yeah, and there's another conversation there as well. Like, the more popular that those YouTubers are getting, how much is it them copying the template, or how much is it them forming a template? Because, the more popular they are, the more people they are influencing. And, there could be people that don't even watch content, but if your mate that knows more about FPL has said, I'll do this, you might copy him when actually he's only just copied a different YouTuber.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more of that going on as well.
I'll ask you final bit before we move on from this. I'm gonna kind of challenge you a bit, because I've asked other people this, but something's dawned on me as we're having this conversation. Does it really matter that FPL content is beyond all very similar? Beyond, obviously it means a lot to us because we're FPL content creators, but beyond us lot, does it really matter to the general person out there?
No, it really doesn't. And, you could be making a piece of content that 10 people view, 10 people watch every week, and you could still be having the time of your life, Yeah. And, if those 10 people could just be watching you have your own little party, and it really doesn't matter, just do it for the love of the game and have fun with it. That's all I have to say.
So next question is to sort of return to the standard questions, which I guess is very related to what we're talking about now. What advice would you give to any young person or older person, I don't want to be ageist, wanting to start creating FPL content? What someone like that?
Yeah, I would say the typical normal advice that you would normally get doesn't actually help that much, such as, people who say spend a lot of time on your thumbnails, spend a lot of time on your titles and stuff, especially in the FPL niche. Those things don't matter as much.
Okay.
I think they do in the general landscape of YouTube, but with FPL, even if you just put FPL Game Week, whatever, in your title, that's pretty much good. You don't need to spend pretty much any more time on that. I would say the main thing you need to focus on is the actual content, which I don't know why, but nobody ever suggests to look at that. Everybody kind of focuses on the controllable things after, like the thumbnails, titles, and, how you market yourself and how you get out there, which obviously, could help. But at the end of the day, the hardest part is when somebody clicks on your video, you get them to stay. Getting a view doesn't matter if when they watch you, they don't want to watch you again.
Yeah.
You could have a video with 100,000 views. It looks like it's done well, but if none of those have decided to stay, then what's the point of, that video doing well? So if you actually focus on the content doing well, like the content itself being good, and, good to you could mean different things. It could mean engaging. You could feel like, you present graphics a certain way, present whatever, however you want. But I would personally say, just try and add your own personal touch and personality to it, because anybody can read the same stats. Anybody can have the same potential football opinions, but not everybody can be you. So that's just be you, and do whatever you like to enjoy. I
just forgot a part of my script that was specific to you. So what I was going to say, it kind of leads on to what you were just talking about. Look, you have mentioned some of them. You obviously do go out of your way to make the videos a bit different. So I'm just going to... we have mentioned a couple of them, but I'll mention the two that we still got left. Some of these ideas, sort of maybe you could give us a brief description of them, and then what happened, and then maybe the reaction you got to the videos. So the one I wanted to... Well, you've already described the True False one. Have you done that since the first one? What sort of reaction did that get?
The what one, sorry?
The 2 truths, 1 false.
Oh, yeah. I think because that was my first video, I think a lot of people were kind of probably just thinking, like, who's this guy? But I think the general thing to it was, like, people were like, oh, this is a bit different, and, it's not something you would normally see. So, I assume some people liked it. And, yeah, I just kind of kept on going along that vein, really.
Okay, my 2 favourite ones. April Fool's videos. I'm quitting FPL. My team got deleted. There may have been others.
Yeah. I've done that a few times. Got to be done. Just normal April Fool's YouTube things, I think. And yeah, just so I have a bit of a laugh. I think I have done that like 2 or 3 times. So I guess, the joke's over once, but, I've beat it to the ground now.
But it's a bit weird looking back as well, because I'm looking at I'm quitting FPL. Well, that was 4 years ago, so obviously you didn't.
Yeah.
But did you get a good reaction?
April Fools. I'm not quitting FPL this year.
Did you get a good reaction to them?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I think almost nobody really falls for April Fools on the internet anymore because everybody just kind of knows. But I feel like April Fools is definitely something that's been the things the companies do nowadays is just like it's not funny anymore. Just give up.
FPL Juice, they tried to do both of the presenters, Nick and Ash, walk out, like storm out the other week. And, I mean, they're not particularly good actors either. And I say that, I've been on there, I know. But it was, you knew what it was. It was April Fool's, you know what I mean? Another video, skits, which you don't see that often in the FPL community. So the one I saw was, which actually did make me laugh quite a bit, was one person trying to make FPL content during the summer when I think there was absolutely nothing to talk about fixtures, and the other person saying, why are you trying to make FPL content?
Yeah, I had some big ideas with that, and I was going to kind of do it like throughout the season and do it more specific to like things that happened in the season. But the reaction for that, especially, I posted it on FPL Reddit, and I don't know if you've used the subreddit of FPL, but how they view content is very, very different to YouTube. Right. Like you think FPL Twitter hates content creators, but you get on there and you will get flamed really bad.
I've never been on it, but a couple of people have said when I've mentioned Reddit. Well, I have done, but I've only done it as in researching these interviews. I've never read any in depth, and a few people have said to me, "Oh God, how you went on there? Like, good luck."
Yeah,
is it really that bad?
So I really like Reddit, but the whole concept of Reddit is that the content is what gets upvoted and whatnot. So it doesn't matter if you're really popular. That doesn't mean it would come up first or whatnot. Everything's based on how everything's rated. So when it's content focused, not like user focused, stuff like content creators, I don't know why people have a really they just hate it. So that one skit I uploaded on there, and I think I had something stupid like minus 100, like 100 dislikes, not a single like. And the amount of comments on there, it was terrible. I was crying myself to sleep for ages.
I'll tell you a story. When I actually I tried to make this channel. Well, actually, I was trying to make this channel, but I was also trying to make one on Football Manager. And nice. I posted my videos in FPL Reddit a couple of times and actually got really good feedback and promoted. I put them in the Football Manager one, and I got like 50 dislikes. I mean, to be fair, I was slagging off, as I sometimes do FPL content creators, I was slagging off a lot of YouTube Football Manager content creators, so that may have been the reason why. We've already touched upon it a bit. Roasting FPL content creators first draft. What was the reaction to that one like?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people. Well, I think I was the first one that did the rating YouTubers drafts, and then I think that kind of created like a snowball of people like rating drafts.
Yeah, I remember seeing other people doing it around the time.
Yeah, so then I was like, well, I've already done the rating YouTubers draft. Well, what else can I do that's rating? So I just kind of went for like a roasting. I think some of them I have just done like a normal rating, but been a little bit more like thing on the points, 1 out of 10 if I actually don't like it. But I think I did do one which was actually almost like a diss track. So but I think people signed up for it, so that's what they got, what they expected.
Yeah, if they click on it, they know what they're getting, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm not just like sending them a boost for absolutely no reason, But yeah.
Okay, so last 2 questions I usually ask in this section is the first one is usually, how did you come up with your channel name? But I think your channel name is probably the least creative I've ever seen. Assuming that Nathan Bacon is your name.
Well, no, it's not actually.
Is it not?
So there you go. No.
Okay, all right.
So Bacon is my nickname. Okay. I would like to say there's a really fun, cool story about that, but I apparently just used to eat like a pig when I was in school. Somebody called me Bacon. Then there was 2 Nathans on my football team, so they were like, "Oh, Nathan Bacon, Nathan Egg."
All right,
so
okay.
There you go.
Do you like bacon?
Then, yeah, So, pardon?
Do you like eating bacon?
Not really.
I love a bit of bacon.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, my other YouTube channel was just Nathan Bacon, and then I wanted to make a football one. So I was like, what can I do a football thing on that? Oh yeah, Nathan Bacon FC. There you go.
And then Nathan Bacon FPL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
It's got to have an FPL in there. All right, okay. This one, I'm going to struggle a bit with this one. The next one is, don't tell me the answer. Have you ever been recognised out on the street as Nathan Bacon FPL? I'm going to say yes.
Outside of FPL events.
Yeah, outside of that.
Yes, actually, yeah. So
got it right.
yeah. It was actually my first year of uni when I only just started. No, sorry, my last year of uni, my first year of content creation. And yeah, I think it was just a normal uni night out and invited some. I lived in like basically like a block of flats in my last year. So like my flat had like 4 or 5 rooms, and then there was the same for like 5 or 6 different others. So like every now and again we'd invite everybody over, or we'd go over somebody else's. And yeah, there was just one guy. Somebody as a joke decided to put one of my videos on the YouTube on the TV in the pre-drinks, because that's just funny.
Wait, in a bar?
No, sorry, this is like in our flat before we went out. And then, yeah, one of the people had like a few other mates over from uni or whatever, and they invited them over to our flat. And then somebody put my video on as a joke. And then this guy just looked at the video, turned to me and went, "Oh my God, you're Nathan Bacon," and give me a hug. And I was just like, "What?" And he was like, "Wait, is that generally you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, I've been watching your videos all year." And I was like, "Oh, what?" I think that was the first time I was like, "Hang on. Surely not. Like, surely somebody's pranking me." But no, genuinely, he apparently watched me. I mean, unless it was some elaborate prank, they didn't even tell me at the end. But I'll take it. I'll pretend that it's not. I'll pretend it's real.
Did that freak you out? Did he was hugging you? Did he end up like stalking you for the rest of the uni year, or did you become best mates?
Do you know what? I was kind of thinking, like, am I gonna have to have some sort of escape route here? Oh, sorry, and just need to get a drink. But no, it was normal interaction and all that. And then, yeah, I guess apart from that, I did also get recognized at a club, but it did turn out it was just one of my friends pranking me. So he made me buy him a drink, and then he was like, "Oh, by the way, I didn't actually know you were. He just told me to do that." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty unlucky."
I'm gonna have to try that one if I.
Yeah.
When am I ever going to see any FPL content creators out in the street? Okay, so we'll move on to the next section of the interview now, which is a little bit about FPL, mental health, mood, things like that. Just a reminder, if you're still listening up to this point in the video, thank you very much. And please like to help get the video out there. And please subscribe to help me get the channel up to 800 subscribers. Thank you so much. If you do this, it would really mean the world to me. And also, please check out channel memberships if you'd like to support the channel even further. So, I usually start this section, Nathan, by saying, trying to separate this out into 2 questions. I mean, I guess for you it's going to be a bit difficult to this, considering you say you didn't really take FPL that seriously before you started as content creator. But has FPL ever affected your mental health and mood, if you can remember back as a player without the content creation part, and then also as a content creator?
Without the content creation, I'd say definitely not. I feel like even in the good weeks, I almost didn't care. So it was quite hard to feel down in the bad weeks.
Is that taking it seriously?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess it's the same as anything. If you don't pay attention to it, then it doesn't. Your attention is diverted. So it's that you're not gonna see that. So yeah, I'd say before content creation, it was just like a normal thing.
And as a content creator?
I'd say personally no, but I can see why other people are affected by it, because sometimes I do get the thing of like the pressure of like, well, when I first started, I think you almost feel like you need to prove yourself in the space. And there was potentially that added pressure of, for instance, you make a big decision, like you wild card this week or you triple captain that week, and if it doesn't go well, a lot of people, it might not even be people slating you, but a lot of people aren't gonna like view your content the same way or like as high of a regard as they might have had it before. So in terms of pressure, maybe that way, and then I can see how that could quite easily spill out into your mood and your general vibes. But for me personally, no, I've never had that. I think even when I have taken it seriously, it is still a game. And, I just like to have fun with it. And yeah, even in the years I'm taking it seriously now, I've triple captained Jacob Murphy. So, when things go bad, I just say unlucky and move on, basically.
No, it's a good attitude to have. So the next question is, I'm only wondering if I should even ask, because you support Swansea, basically. The next question you ask is, what? Actually, no, I can ask the first bit. What is generally more important to you? Because the next bit's about the conflict between FPL and your team's real life results, so I won't go into that. But I can ask you the first bit. What is more important to you on a given game week? How your FPL team does, or how Swansea have done that weekend?
100% Swans and football, really. Yeah. I think even when my FPL team has done bad, then my weekend's still the same, really. So yeah, but it's all about my own football team.
Yeah. Do you get pissed off if Swansea do badly?
Not really, to be honest. I think when we were in the Prem, it was kind of like every win is like, oh yeah, we're still here. And then I think after relegation, it's more sadness than anger.
Yeah.
And we got to the playoff semi-finals one year, and then the year after we got to playoff finals, and that was a very, very dark summer. But
yeah,
you live, you move on, and hopefully we'll be back there soon.
What advice? Yeah. What advice would you give to anyone who is struggling with their mood/mental health as a result of FPL this season?
Yeah, I'd say obviously it's different for everybody. I would personally say only give into it as much time as you want it to affect you. The more time you spend on it, the more it will affect you. And I do think FPL isn't necessarily as much like the more time you spend on it, the more you get out of it. No. But I do think the more time you spend on it, the more the outcome gets to you.
Definitely.
Because you do feel like you own the decisions a lot more and such like that. So I would say if you are struggling, you feel like it's taken over, then, take a step back, whether that be not play as seriously, whether that be, just set your team up for an hour, then don't look at it until the next week, whatever best suits you. But, Out
of interest, mate, how often do you spend forgetting about content creation on actually thinking about your team per week?
Nowadays, not as much, but I would probably say it's hard to say. Some weeks, over like a double game week or wild card or there's things happening, I could be looking at it like potentially hours every day, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then I feel like back in my prime when I was trying to like really try hard and with the content and stuff, it would genuinely be like basically almost every single free time of my every day.
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours every single day. And then outside of content, it was that's all it would be.
Looking at the team that much every day. Bloody hell.
Because it's not necessarily just looking at it. I think with content as well, it was more looking at like, it's not just looking about my team. It's like, okay, what players can I suggest for this video? What players, for all that. So you are looking at a bit more aspects there. So not all of it is just my team, but it was a lot way back in the day, but I've certainly dimmed that down now.
Can I ask a question? Just coming into my head, because obviously you've been around for a while, as in 5 years. You've got 19,000 subscribers, which I know doesn't put you up there with the big boys, but that's still a decent amount. I mean, it's double the amount of like above average FPL, for example. I've just wondered, when was like the biggest growth point of your channel, and what do you think? I mean, has it grown consistently over time, or was there some point that you got up, hit a peak, and like, what was behind that, do you think?
So when I did that video, that was one of my first ones, the rating first YouTubers first drafts. That one got me straight up to 1,000 subscribers, like after my third or fourth video. And I think obviously on YouTube, you kind of need like 1,000 subscribers and the watch time to like be monetized and all that as well. So like that was obviously like a big motivational factor then.
Was that the same 5 years ago?
Yeah, but I don't think the watch time was as much that you
Okay.
needed,
Okay.
but you did still need 1,000 subscribers. Um, yeah, that shot me up to 1,000. That was like probably first big spike, and then there wasn't necessarily like one video that has spiked me up because that is still my most popular video. But I think during the Euro 2020, my videos were doing quite well then. That spiked me quite a few up.
Oh yeah, I noticed you did a
And
few Euros ones. Yeah.
yeah, because I was also I got invited on the Austrian Sky Sports, which was very cool. They got me to
Really?
speak words in Austrian, and I still to this day do not know what I said. So hopefully I'm not banned from a few countries. We'll have to see when I fly. But
How
yeah,
did how did you know how to pronounce the words in that?
I didn't. No, so the presenter of the Austrian Sky Sports reached out to me and said, "Oh, I really like your content. We're trying to add some like somebody that knows fantasy Euros into it because he wanted me to talk about like the Austrian fantasy players and stuff." And he said, like, "Oh, do you mind just saying these words and like give me a thing of how to pronounce them, and then I can say whatever else I want for the rest of it." So
That is so fucking random.
I know. So that's my claim to fame.
Obviously, there's no
um,
Austrian content creators, FPL
yeah.
content creators. Sorry, man,
They had to make me use Google Translate instead. But yeah, apart from that, there wasn't really any like video itself that did well. I think it was more about like consistency. So I think my second year is where my videos are doing the best they were, and yeah, I would think I was doing probably a video every day then. So that's kind of like a snowball effect, and I think I got to like 10,000 subscribers after my second year, and then from then it's kind of just FPL content when you're making like videos about your team is very much all at the start of the FPL year is where the big jumps and things are. There's new people to the game. People don't really search for new content creators halfway through the year because you kind of got who you've been watching, or you might not care as much or whatnot. But when it's like, before game week 1 or first few weeks, it's like, right, who can I look at and whatnot? So that's where the big growth happens. So if you have a good preseason, that's kind of where the growth comes from. And I feel like in mine, the first probably 3 years, the first like pre-seasons of the 3 years were where the main growth was, and then ever since then it's been, I'd say, slowly going up. But if I go on my YouTube analytics now, I've got minus 15 subscribers in the last 28 days, so take that as you will.
I did notice though your number of views, tell me if I'm wrong, this is obviously from a very basic search of but your view numbers across don't seem to have generally gone down. You seem to be getting roughly a similar number of views per video.
Wow.
I might be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Not so much now, but I think what it is now, I'm a bit more particular of when I make the videos, and I'm not making as many. If I was still to make 4 a week, then I think you would notice it. But like, for instance, if I'm only going to upload once in a month right now, then I'll choose the most optimal time to upload that, so it will still perform well. Because obviously, even though that's not the reason I do it, it's still always nice. It still is the part of the game, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dopamine, a bit of buzz if you get...
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean, I hate the thing that compares it to your 10 most recent videos, because you'll get like, because if I have a couple of successful videos for the size of this channel, which, is a couple of thousand or whatever, and then I get one that only has 500 views, then I'll be like, right, that's disappointing. It's not as done as well as those ones, but it's probably actually a decent number of views for my channel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, that. And I'd say to new content creators, only care about that when you hit the one of 10. Don't care about it when it's below, because it can get to you otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, awesome. So let's get on to last part of the interview, which is just having a general chat about how your season's going. So I'll just timestamp this again. We're recording this in game week 32 on a Monday night. So the big match still to be played is Newcastle Crystal Palace. How is your season going, mate?
It's going okay in the grand scheme of things. Not as okay as I'd want it to be, considering. So maybe a little bit more context. Last year, I did not play it seriously from the start. Right. And then this year, I decided to like kind of play it a bit more seriously again, for content as well. But So right now I'm kind of sitting at 400k, which isn't terrible, but I feel like I'm better. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I've captained Jacob Murphy, so maybe not. But I feel like throughout the season, started off for about 1 mil, kind of dipping in between the 1 and 2 mil, and then the last like 10 weeks or so, I've kind of gone down to 400k right now. Just used my triple captain on Jacob Murphy, wildcard in game week 30. Got some spicy boys in. I got Kevin De Bruyne in.
Oh,
everybody thought he was finished, but there you go, 12 pointer this week in game week 32.
The talk of the week so far,
exactly. Everybody wants to get him in on their free hit or whatnot, and I've already got him in with no transfers. Lovely stuff.
Nice. Yeah, quite a similar season to myself, to be honest. And of course, you have this as your main headline on, or one of your main headlines on Twitter. You were at one point third in the world. Can you tell us about that? Can you tell us about that? Was it game week 1 or?
So it's worse than that. Actually, it's halfway through game week 1 after like 4 games. But let me explain. Let me cook. So, so at the start of last season, I decided that I was gonna just try. I tried to be the Mr. Beast of YouTube almost. I wanted to use all my chips in the first few weeks and make a video out of it.
Oh, so you really weren't taking it seriously?
Yeah, I really wasn't taking it seriously. The video that I made for that, obviously I wasn't planning on getting to be third in the world, but that obviously helped with it. But my pin video is I bench boosted in game week 1 and reached third in the world. So the whole idea with that was not only did I bench boost in game week 1, obviously giving me more players than most, I chose all of my players that were playing on the Saturday. So my rank would be at the highest it possibly could because I've had the more players than anyone else in the world. So even if half of them scored, I should be ahead of most people. And at one point I did on live FPL, got to third in the world. On FPL game week, it did actually put me first, but it was a bit unsure there because when I was looking at it, because it was still live, he was during games.
Oh, you could have taken a screenshot of that.
I could have, but when I was looking at that, it didn't add some of the scores. Some of them were a little off. And then, live FPL, a lot of people respect that. So I thought, a screenshot from there seems a lot more reliable. So I was third in the world there. And then I think even by the end of the game week, I was only like 2,000th in the world. So at a time I was third, but it wasn't even the end of the game week. And I know a lot of people would say like, oh, it's because you bench boosted. But I actually looked, and something stupid like 500,000 people used the bench boost in game week 1.
Well, it has become more of a thing recently, the last few seasons, hasn't it?
So out of the 500,000 people that bench boosted, I was third. So even if it was, because I bench boosted, I'm still ahead of 497, all those other people that did it. So I'll take that. Got the screenshot, put it in the Twitter bio, and then I can just relax for the rest of the season now. I don't really care.
To be honest, though, that is
former third in the world. That's me now.
That is a much better. I was expecting you to say like halfway through the season or something. That's actually a 10 times better story.
Yeah. Do you know, to make the story even better, I then decided to take 20 hits every single week so that my final rank was 10 millionth. So that's another FPL record that I've probably broken because I very much doubt somebody's been third and 10 millionth. That's got to be the largest gap of anybody at any point of an FPL season ever.
So your content last season really just was like fucking about, basically, in terms of the FPL team.
Pretty much, yeah. So I bench boosted game week 1. I like triple captain, free hit, wildcard in the first 4 weeks. To be fair, after the first 4 weeks, I was still in the top like 2,000th. And I've still not been that high outside of that. And if I played it seriously, maybe I could have stayed quite high up there. Because even though I was using the chips, some of the obviously I still needed to choose players that scored good points.
Yeah.
So I probably could have stayed up in a decent rank. But yeah, I decided taking the 20 hits every week was a bit more fun, so that's what I did instead. The
longer we're having this conversation, the more and more I think I'm more likely to actually watch your content, mate. Because do you remember a guy called what's his name? FPL Dare. I don't know if he's still going.
Yeah. No, he's not anymore. No.
He used to do some crazy stuff, didn't he? For anyone who's like doesn't know, because I mean, we're going back 7 or 8 years, aren't we? He used to like I don't know, put things into a tombola hat. He was more interested in this and like pick out who his wildcard team should be, wouldn't he? Stuff like that.
Yeah, like every single one of his FPL decisions was a dare, and that was the whole point between FPL dare. And yeah, I was quite like inspired by him, I think, and I think that's something like I feel like I wanted to try and do as well, because I do think the FPL content creator niche kind of has missed content like that.
Yeah,
because he was ahead of his time. You know, if he had done that, you know, now or carried on doing it, it might have done. I think it still did pretty well then, but you know, it probably deserved to do better than it was, because you know he took a lot of effort into putting, you know, into doing those videos, but unfortunately not all of those things are rewarded.
Yeah, it's a shame he's not back. It would have been good to got him on here. Maybe if he's still around, I'll try and was he Australian or South African, something like that, wasn't
he? Yeah, I think Australian and New Zealand.
Yeah. Got a lot of interesting characters in that part of the world. What do you think should be considered a good finish for an average FPL player, Nathan? Nowadays, top 10k, top 100k, 10 million in your case.
Third in the world, obviously. That's
third in the world. On Saturday, the first game week.
Obviously, it's kind of changed now, isn't it? Because you know, I feel like top 10k what has always been like the thing people say, and you know, but then you do get people that show off their top 10k ranks from like 15 years ago when they were probably only about 11,000 players. So you know, with the game growing so much, you can't use the same number. I think that's why you kind of go by percentage now. And I mean, we got 11 million players, so you know, top 1%, yeah, roughly still around
top
there.
100k, but isn't it? Well, yeah, even more than that. You know, 120.
Yeah.
K, I guess.
So I think probably 100k is like good rank. I think even in a top mill is still okay, because I know some of my mates who play FPL, but not like they play it seriously enough where they're doing their team every week, but not seriously enough they're consuming content. And all of those are in the 3, 4, 5 millions. And you look at their teams and they're fine. So you know,
Dan asked Nathan, but what's your rank history like?
So
I mean, forget last season, because obviously that's a write-off.
So my first proper season, 24,000, then 93,000, then 25,000. That's my only 3 serious ranks.
Oh, right, okay. So you're a decent player when you put your mind to it.
Yeah, potentially. And then last year, 9.4 million it was in the end. Yeah, so I think now probably about 100k is like good, but at the end of the day, most people care about their mini leagues. You know, it doesn't matter if you're 1,000,000th in the world, but you beat all your mates to some people. So I do think rank is this kind of like the thing that people kind of focus on a bit too much now.
It's it's us dorks on Twitter and
exactly. And I do think with content creation, it's a very good way to advertise yourself. But at the same time, it doesn't really mean much. You know, somebody could have a good few ranks back in the day, but it doesn't mean their one suggestion from one game week is any better than anybody else's, you know?
No, totally. You're a fan of, have you played your assistant managership?
I have. I used it on Arnie Slot when, instead of triple captain in Salah in those double game weeks. So wasn't quite good. And then I think I swapped it to McKenna because I was like, surely they beat Spurs, and that's the one team that they didn't. So yeah,
they've been doing all right recently, haven't they?
Yeah, recently, yeah. It is. I do think when the FPL season's more fun, it does make the FPL season more fun too. When the Premier League season's more fun, with relegation and whatnot. Because right now it's very easy to identify the teams you need to target. It doesn't take a lot of skill to realize you need to target a Southampton team that are on course to be the worst Premier League team ever, you know.
And Captain Salah, basically, unless it's a double game week.
And the way Salah's been this year, I've kept my captain on him pretty much every season, even in what looked like the harder games, but he's obviously scored more points. And yeah.
Do you think they should keep it? Are you a fan?
The assistant manager. Yeah. I don't understand I don't understand the direction they were going with in terms of, I don't think they fully understand who plays their game.
I would completely agree. Yeah.
And because I don't know if you saw, they did like a live stream video, like maybe the last summer or the summer before, like the people who kind of make the game,
Okay. No, I
kind of
didn't see
showing
it.
like they were talking about like the success. That's where they announced there's going to be a new game mode, which ended up being the FPL Challenge.
Do you
And
like
like
that?
I also like the FPL Challenge,
That's basically how
Fantasy
you play
Challenge.
your normal season, Lowe's.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it's a game created for me. Surely I'll do good at it.
I'll be honest, David. I did when they released it. I did a couple in the beta, but to be honest with you, like FPL takes up so much of my mind. Once I've sorted out my team,
Yeah.
I want to get out of there. I'm not going to go and fuck around with
Yeah.
another mode.
But I think that's another one where they don't really understand who's playing, because some of the challenges were fun, but some of them weren't. Like some of them were like the most expensive player you can choose in each position is 5 million. How does that make it fun? Like, yeah, it might be a challenge, but somebody's not going to log in and be like, yes, I need to play this challenge this week.
Yeah.
I think they've done a few, like they've done one like strikers goals are worth double and stuff like that. That gives you a little bit more to like, want to play it.
Yeah.
But I think that the assistant manager is very much like, it's somewhere in the middle where it doesn't really help the casual. It doesn't really target the hardcore players either. And I feel like it also doesn't bridge the gap in between. So I do think it's just a decision by people that just don't really understand. And I think with the news that Mark Southerns might be more involved, I think that's going to be incredible. And I'm so happy for him and the FPL future that somebody like that, not just the knowledge behind FPL, but like, yeah, I feel like he could really make the right decisions. We don't actually know the power he's going to have, but even some advice from him up into the people who are making the decisions will be really, really valuable, I think.
It's good. I mean, that they've taken him on. I mean, it's a shame we're not going to see him on the screens, but the fact they're taking his advice, I'm almost pleased in a way that he's gone behind the scenes, because that means he, as you say, maybe he'll have a bit more, maybe not power, but his voice will be listened to. He's not just there to parade around as the FPL expert in terms of a player. He's one of us, isn't he?
Yeah, one of us.
But then again, they have. I would say Kelly Summers is one of us. I mean, he's not as into it as Mark Southerns, obviously, but he's a big FPL player.
I do think the people that they have on the show don't have any influence in the game, and maybe what the role Mark's going to be going into isn't that. But I do also think when they're on the show, they are kind of like told they kind of have to speak about certain things in certain ways. Like you have to talk about stats, you have to talk about these game weeks. They probably don't get as much freedom either. So, it's quite easy to see them talking about what you think is the right thing, but it's just because that's what they've been. That's what everybody else is talking about, kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So, a bit of a difficulty asking the question, considering you finished 10 million last season. But with a massive FPL expert here, I'll be missing out. I'm reading some of the script. If I didn't ask your general tips on how to have a good season. This is the last question, Nathan. What would your general advice be?
The biggest advice I have, if you know how I play, is don't play like me. No, to be fair, from the different ways of playing FPL, I do feel like I probably have like quite a unique perspective because, I feel like FPL is a lot, things come from experience.
You've experimented around with different styles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do think there is like a way to play that will guarantee that you do good, but I don't think there is a way to guarantee that you'll win. Because at the end of the day, you need to get every 50-50 decision right. You need to be bold. You need to be out there to win. And you need almost everything to go your way. You don't need to be perfect. But yeah, you need to be pretty much on it. So I would say my general advice is, yes, use these stats. Yes, use the tools out there. But at the same time, nobody knows. Everything that we use is a prediction. And that doesn't mean that those predictions, people who spend more time on it, does not mean that their predictions are going to be better than yours. So just go with who you want to go for, even if it's just for vibes, even if, you think one player is going to do well one week, just go for who you want to go for, have fun with it, and maybe it can turn out well.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, start a YouTube channel and play your bench boost in the first week.
And try and reach fourth in the world. Not as good as me, sorry.
Well, Nathan, I really enjoyed this one, mate. Anything you want to say before we go? Go and subscribe to Nathan Bacon FPL.
I do have an outro, so I would mind doing that.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Don't be a cheeky scrub. Subscribe to Nathan Bacon right now.
Oh, I saw that. Who
I paid a guy on Fiverr to do it, so he's just been my outro ever since.
Is he a Nigerian lad?
Yeah, he's I can't remember his name now. He was like a really big like meme guy. I never really paid him to do like the meme videos, so I paid him on Fiverr once, and he's just been my outro ever since.
Thank you so much for coming on, Nathan. It's been really enjoyed that one, mate. It's been a pleasure. Please do like the video to help get it out there, and subscribe to help me get up to 800 subscribers. And I'll see you in the next one.